we shouldn't be condemning him. We should be honoring him if we don't want to be hypocrites. We should carve his image on Mount Rushmore. We should engrave it in our currency. Maybe we should insert his name in the Pledge of Allegiance. After all, we are a Lance Armstrong economy. That's it. Lance Armstrong used artificial stimulus to enhance his performance. Well, what's wrong with that, right? That's what we're doing. Don't we want to stimulate the economy? Don't we want the Fed to stimulate? Don't we want artificial stimulus, right? We don't want the economy to go on its own. We want the Fed to stimulate it. Well, that's what Lance did. He just wanted a little stimulus. That's all, right? He just figured he'd perform better with some stimulus. I've got some of the sound from the Lance Armstrong interview on Oprah Winfrey. So let's play a little of it, and then imagine, Ben Bernanke one day going on the Oprah show, for his confession about using stimulus. Here, cut number 1.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
Did you ever blood dope or use blood transfusions to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Did you ever use any other banned substances like testosterone, cortisone, or human growth hormone?
Yes.
Yes or no? In all 7 of your Tour de France victories, did you ever take banned substances or blood dope?
Yes.
Well, so, Mr. Bernanke, did you ever use artificial stimulus to prop up the U.S. economy? Yes. Did you ever use quantitative easing to artificially stimulate the economy? Yes. Did the Fed use low interest rates to stimulate the housing market? Yes. Did you use easy money to stimulate the stock market? Yes. All these things would be yes, yes, yes. Of course, hey, we already admit that. I mean, it's not even like this is something that he has to come out and acknowledge on Oprah Winfrey. We already know it, and we don't even care. Somehow we care if a cyclist uses artificial stimulus in a race, but when the chairman of the Federal Reserve stimulates the entire U.S. economy with basically the same stuff, oh wait, we don't care. Hey, here's some more. Lance Armstrong and Oprah Winfrey, cut number 2.
In your opinion, was it humanly possible to win the Tour de France without doping 7 times in a row?
Not in my opinion.
So when did you first start doping?
We're done with the yes and no's.
We're done with the yes and no's.
I suppose earlier in my career there was cortisone, and then the EPO generation began. And
began when?
For me or for
you?
Mid-90s.
Yeah, it'd be a similar situation. Ben Bernanke, ask him those same questions. So, could we have had a stock market bubble without the Fed's artificial stimulus? No, we couldn't have. Could we have had the housing bubble? Would it have been possible to have a housing bubble without the Fed? No, we could not have had a housing bubble if were not for the Fed. All those questions. Would we have had a financial crisis without the Federal Reserve stimulus? Well, no, we wouldn't have had that either. Maybe she could ask, when did the Federal Reserve start this? And then he could say, well, it all started back under my predecessor, Alan Greenspan. It started with him. He started doing it in a small scale. When we had the stock market crash back in 1987, the Fed decided to artificially stimulate the economy. And, hey, it worked. Everything was great because, hey, we turned that around. Lance Armstrong won Tour de France using stimulus, so we figured he'd keep on doing it. And, so the Fed, hey, then we had the Russian debt default. We had the Orange County bankruptcy. We had the Asian economic crisis. We had Latin America. We had Russia. Oh, and then it worked great to avoid the Y2K, all this stuff. And so that's where it started. It started back in 87, and it just kept building and building and building. But we're not going to have the Fed coming clean until the whole thing implodes, until we have the real crash, until the sovereign debt crisis, until the currency crisis. Once the whole thing comes collapsing, then we'll fess up. Just like with Lance Armstrong. It wasn't until his whole world imploded around him that he had no excuse. He had nothing left. There was no more lies he could tell. He had no excuse but to come clean. And I think we're gonna probably have the same deathbed confession. I mean, a lot of good it's gonna do us or the U.S. economy. 855-4-SCHIFF is the number to call. We'll be right back, so stick around.